there are two. I mean, I'm very interested in the changes in football from the 50s and the 60s to the present day, right? So there are two
Yeah.
things I want to ask you about. One is, nowadays when you go on YouTube, everything you see, even the commentators of the matches, everything seems to be about tactics and formations. Was
Yeah.
this also
Yeah.
true during your time?
Yep. Definitely. And there was a lot to learn
Mm,
from, especially Uncle Chu, uh, about formation and about you know what happens when when you get a situation like this. Okay, you got to switch to the right, turn over. The fella on the right has got to be prepared to receive the ball, and there must be the element of surprise. So what happens is we pick up all these little things, and the rest, use your brain.
mm,
That's
mm,
all. And he says, if you've got a brain, he says, you make a brilliant footballer,
mm,
because there's a lot of you know uh, a lot of times that we just get along, and we we at you know I'm at a loss for words at the moment, but somehow or other, because of the training and
mm,
the brains that you use, as part of your training and all that, you improve that way. You really will. The element of surprise,
mm.
that is what it gives you, the
Mm.
edge. And
So,
it all started way back in the 50s and all that. Way back in the 50s and early 60s, it was basically uh, 2-3-5. The goalkeeper, your two fullbacks, your three halves, left half, right half, center half, and then your forwards, right wing, left wing, inside right, inside left, center forward. Over the years, they change, because you will get a good coach who thinks uh, exceptionally. You know how am I going to improve this team? How are we going to beat that team? So they will come up with a system. So one system will be 4-3-2-1.
mm,
So they will change sometimes. 4-2-4. Two in the middle. The two in the middle will have to work extremely hard, you know, and it's not easy to play in that position. You've got to be, superbly fit. So then, of course, nowadays, if you notice, there will be situations where you get players uh, who are now in, like for example, instead of four, they'll have five, and then there'll be about two in the middle or three, and that is where you strengthen your defense. And up front, the very most two. That's all. So you see the changes. The changes are just within, you know, within the systems that you are
mm,
playing.
mm. It's not just about the physical attributes you have, but also the football intelligence.
That's right.
Mm,
Absolutely. Because you can have a physique like this, but if you get a player who's small but clever,
mm,
you're finished. He will outstage
mm.
you. And especially if the team plays well, where they play the 1-2 and what have you, just 1-2, and they go past you. They leave you flat on your back.
I mean, the other question I have for you is, in those days, in the 50s to the 70s, can you actually make a tackle, right? Was the game rougher in those days?
Not really. I think it's even more rough today,
Ah, really?
as opposed to the old days. The referees were very strict. They were stickler for the rule. And the moment you go in and clash, and try and stop the other player from playing by, whatever means, you'll be pulled up, yellow card. Do it one more time. Out you go. They were very strict. But nowadays, you know why? over the years, they decided that they don't want to stop the game too often. The game has been stopped so often that it's no fun anymore for spectators. So what happens is they just let them go, let them go, let them go, and then they decide, I think this is too much. They pull the player up, yellow card, for starters.
Mm.
But there have been instances, like there was one referee, one of Singapore's best, John Ferguson is his name. And there was one game at the Jalan Besar Stadium, and the team, the game that he was refereeing, saw some, ugly scenes and all that. And a lot of bettors, a lot of the punters lost money. So obviously, who do they take it out on? The referee. After the game is over, they'll be looking out for the referee. They'll be waiting at the dressing room, waiting for the referee to come out. They say, referee, come, referee. And they threw him into the drain at Jalan Besar Stadium. There's a big drain there. And they threw poor John Ferguson into that drain. And this led to John Ferguson leaving the game completely. He gave up being a referee. Pity, we lost a very good referee. He's a FIFA referee,
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you, who were the, very notable, excellent referees that we've had throughout our history?
Yeah. John Ferguson is one of them. There was another Eurasian guy called Greg De Silva, and we had N. Chandra, and then came along George Supaya. Now, George Supaya was the first local referee to be called upon to referee at the World Cup.
Yeah, I want to ask you that transition for Singapore being part of Malaysia and becoming independent. Was it a bit strange for the footballers of the time? I mean, the teammates that used to be your team, and suddenly you were playing against them one day.
Yeah, but anyway, this not that fact. We were also playing against them anyway during the Malaysia Cup, during the Malaysia Cup matches and what have you. So we still get a chance to play against them. But if you are selected to represent the Malaysian side, then you will get to train with them. But if you are not, of course, unfortunately, then you don't get to see them until you see them eyeball to eyeball on the field of play.
You had a short stint as a coach. How did you feel about coaching?
Well, I started coaching young boys very early on. When I was a young player myself, I was coaching a bunch of young chaps in Queenstown, and they came up to me. We were training at my training ground at that time was Queenstown Technical School. So a bunch of young boys, about 11, 12 years old, they saw me training. They knew who I was, and they came up to me and said, "Uncle, can coach us now?" I said, "Okay, why not?" I mean, I was quite happy, to do it, because these boys were eager beavers. So why not? Got them together and trained them for several years. I trained them. And from that batch, we had about three players who eventually went on to play for Singapore.
Did you enjoy, the process of coaching youngsters and bringing out the best in them?
Yeah, for sure. It's something in you that sees, things happening. And especially when you're training the boys and when they look up to you, and they respect anything that you say and they will follow you. And I find that very nice. It's a kind of thank you, for your services. So I did that. Well, quite happily.
What was the best game you ever played?
Oh, this one, so many people in the past used to ask me, what was your best game? I said, very simple, very simple. I mean, there are people who can't remember, Well, I played so many games. Wow, wow, wow. For me, one game, that's all. As captain of the Singapore youth team
Mm.
at the 1967 Asian Youth Championships, it was the quarterfinal against the home team, Thailand, you know, and they were the better side. They were the better side. In fact, they've got several players who were over age. There was one Thai guy who actually told me, he said, this other player, Niwatana. Ah, very good, right? Over age, over age. They all cheat. But we just went on because there's no point of making a hue and cry. So we just went on and we played. But because we played our guts out, and and really we stood in front of that goal and stopped them from coming through. I stayed on the line, six six ball,
Wow.
which could have gone in. The goalkeeper dived, missed. I was behind, cleared off the line, you know. And another player, Lim Lai Wat, four, four shots on the line. He saved. So can you imagine? We were under heavy bombardment
Yeah.
against these players. And then when we finally scored a goal, we were so happy. And we scored another goal again. This time it was a goal kick, and I usually take all the goal kicks. I hit the ball over halfway line, and so the last man, the Thai player, the centre back, he headed the ball. It went back. That means whoever is running there is onside. That he was, but the linesman carried his flag and waved and said offside. George Supaya was so upset because he was a qualified referee and he was the coach. And then here, blatant, blatant mistake.
Mm.
And instead of going for offside, because it's going to make the score 2-0, impossible for Thailand to come back.
Mm.
But in the end, it was discarded and the goal was disallowed. And we continued, and we fought to the end. You won't believe it. I tell you, until when we finished the game, I was almost on my knees. We were so tired. And what was gratifying, really, something which I never forget, the crowd, the crowd knew their own players. They booed the Thai players, and and then when we were walking in from the field onto the dressing room, they cheered us. It was wonderful. Never forget the Thais for that.
Yeah. Was it a great honor for you to captain the team?
Of course,
Mm.
for anybody, in fact, and especially if the team is so together, and they're all going there. And there will be times or some tournaments where players are not giving their 100%. You know it, yeah. And even in like some Malaysia Cup matches, if you watch Malaysia Cup matches, you can pick the ones who are actually selling the game, right? And I wouldn't like to mention names and all that, although I can if I want to, but I'd rather not. So, so this is where you actually feel the camaraderie, the
Mm.
players coming together, even when injured, you know, and the player is knocked down or whatever it is. You got to go and help him up and that. And then he will tell you, it's okay, I can continue. That is the kind of spirit you can never find anywhere.
It's an experience that you must experience in order to know it, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
Can
it's an honor, really,
yeah.
it's an honor, and you are so proud of your teammates, especially.
How did you feel, following the ankle injury that you've got to retire? How did you feel about
Oh,
that?
I was smashed.
Mm.
I was gone.
Mm.
I said that it's like my whole life's over. And I did not come back till a few years later.
Yeah.
But when I came back, it's not the same anymore. Although I can still control the ball, I can still pass. But if you get a young fella running with me, I'm finished.
Mm.
It's a
1971, how old were you?
uh,
Uh,
71 now.
20, was it 25? Quite young, right? You were not in your 30s yet.
No. You're talking about 75.
Sorry, 71 when you had that injury.
71, I can't rightly remember. Sue, would you remember 71? Just shout a number.
You were born in 1940,
47.
47. So you were
Yeah.
24.
Okay.
Ah.
You must be right. Huh?
Yeah.
77? Oh, I'm 77 now.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot. I just celebrated my birthday just a couple of weeks back. Yeah.
I mean, you talked about the 60s and the 50s. Those in the 70s, the Kallang Raw group of
Yeah.
players.
I
You
was around.
you know them very well.
Yes,
Tell us about. Yeah.
because I was commentating on them. You know,
Yeah.
that's where I came into the scene from 1972. 71, I was on radio, and then of course I broke into TV. And yes, I was commentating right up to 1994. Yeah, those were the years. Huh? I remember the last game Singapore played against Pahang, and this was in the Shah Alam Stadium. We went all the way there to commentate, and then after the game, I think a couple of weeks later, Mr. Mabao Tan announced that we are pulling out of the Malaysia Cup. So that was the end of the Malaysia Cup story.
Yeah.
I mean, we all love the Malaysia Cup, although it may mean nothing but to Singaporeans and possibly the Malaysians. Everybody looked forward to the Malaysia Cup because it was a thrill to beat Singapore, to beat Johor, to beat Selangor, beat Penang. It was a challenge for the guys across the causeway. So that was it. That was the lure of the Malaysia Cup. Better than, Asian Games or SEAP Games or SEA Games, better. Although by right, we should be very proud of how we do at Asian Games level and SEAP Games level or SEA Games. But funny enough, everybody likes to, they want the results of the Malaysia Cup. They want to know that Singapore has beaten whatever, Kedah or Kelantan or Penang, whatever team in Malaysia. So we walk around very happy, with our heads up in the air and say, hey, Singapore. Yeah. If only they can put that, into place and go for Asian Games. Just like, you get Joseph Schooling winning a gold medal in the Olympic Games. Now, that is something to be proud of. We're talking world.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of Singaporeans, I think, feel, quite sad about pulling out
Yeah.
of Malaysia Cup. I mean, personally, I feel it's a mistake, right? From
You
the
think
level
so?
of entertainment alone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the development of Singapore football, maybe, yes, we have got to
Mm,
develop
mm.
our own league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So in fact, now what is happening is it's a professional league,
Mm,
but we are not seeing the fruits of
mm.
our labor. We're not getting the kind of players that can do well for us.
So can I ask you about, those characters in the dressing room when you interviewed them in the 70s team, Uncle Chu's team? What were
Yeah.
some of the, big characters or interesting characters in that team?
Oh, there was Dola Kasim,
Mm,
there was Mohammad Noor, there was Kwa Kim Song, Samad Alepiche, and these were some of the players who turned up for Singapore. And it was 1977. Sengkui was coach, and so we went on to win the Malaysia Cup that year. And then the next time we won the Malaysia Cup was in 1980
mm,
when Jita Singh was coach,
mm,
and they did well as well.
mm. Maybe I can ask you about like the team spirit. What was the team
Mm.
spirit? Mm.
During that period,
Yep.
they're very good,
Mm,
very good. In fact, I was very proud of the boys,
mm.
for rising to the occasion and really giving their all to do well.
I don't know if you're willing to talk about this. How about partying, enjoying the after game?
Oh yeah, oh,
Mm.
plenty of that, especially when they won the Malaysia Cup.
Yeah.
There, oh, it was party all night long, and why not? The coach allowed them to, let loose and enjoy themselves, and they deserve it because
Mm,
they need, in as much as they train hard, you know, and they gave their best. So if they've won, they have already
mm,
delivered. So give them time off, enjoy themselves,
mm.
because it's not every day that you do it.
Maybe on a more serious note, right? I mean, these days football is so much governed by sports science, sports medicine,
Mm.
and if you listen to the podcasts today about the players of previous generations in the English league, right? Even in the English league,
Mm.
they down beers, chicken, fried chicken, and all that. They were not very aware of sports science for a long time.
Mm.
In Singapore, did we continue to have this problem, of players taking care of themselves? Like one of the common things is, of course, smoking, right?
Mm. Mm.
Was this something that was an issue in Singapore football?
It was,
Mm,
it was. Especially if you come under Coach Chu Seng Hui, my goodness gracious me. Hell
mm,
and high water if you are caught smoking. I took the Singapore youth team to the Asian Youth Championships in Iran
mm,
in 72. And one of the players who came late was a guy called Chu Ping, or Chu Bing. That's right, Lim Chu Bing. And when he came, because he played for Singapore in a Malaysia Cup game, so he was going to be late. So he took the next flight over to Iran. When he arrived, I welcomed him, but at the same time, I noticed a packet of cigarettes in the slip of his jacket. And so what I did was, just quietly, I put my hand in his jacket, took,
mm,
took off his cigarette, and I said, "You're not smoking this, huh?" Then he looked at me and said, "No, no, no, no." So I said, "Good." Then I took it away from him, kept it away from him. Everything continued as usual. And true enough, we did not smoke. Um, on the last day, when we finished the tournament, at the airport, I, I went over to him and I said, "You still want your cigarettes?" He said, "I don't mind." I said, "Okay, here it is. Yeah, but don't let me catch you again." And that was it.
Mm.
That was the end. He respected me for that
Fair
because
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
I could have made a scene,
Mm.
you know, and ostracized him, but I didn't. I respected. Okay, you are a man, you know, and you have the urge to smoke or what, but please try not to. And
Mm.
that was it. Wash. And he gave up smoking after that.
Right. Um, I mean, the other thing is, of course, food, right? Do you think nowadays the players are more aware of what they should eat?
I'm
Is
sure.
our hawker food a bit, too oily or too
Yeah,
unhealthy?
yeah. They are. They are.
Mm.
They're alert. They are all well, you know, taught about what to eat, what not to eat, what to drink, and all that, you know, and
Mm.
especially oily food and things like that.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you may get one or two players who will go against the run of the way things are, and they will resort to eating all the rubbish and all that.
Mm.
But other than that, so all the players are taught. You know, they have been told, be careful not to eat this, and that, and they would have a list of do's and don'ts
Mm.
and what to eat and what not to eat. You know, recommended food and what have you.
Right.
And the players who really want to improve, they will follow that.
How about you, Brian? How about your food when you were playing?
Or when I was playing, not so well. I did look after my diet,
Mm.
but occasionally I would I will,
Sure.
you know, go wonky and break all rules, you know. Like I would love to have my regular char kway teow. Can't help it, you know. I must have that, but not too often. Not like an everyday
Mm.
thing, you know.
Mm.
So I've got to be careful.
Mm.
Those were the days. Huh? Mm.
Any thoughts about the 90s team? You were talking about 94 Pahang and all that.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
team that won the Malaysia Cup and the league double, right?
yes,
How
that's
do
right.
you compare them with the 70s team?
I suppose they would be able to
Mm.
hold their own
Mm.
against the 70s team, you know. But the team that they really cannot hold a candle to
Mm.
is the 66 team
Mm.
because of the fact that they achieved such uh, glory, you know, of coming in fourth in the Asian game. I mean, if it's Malaysia Cup, it's all right because we win the Malaysia Cup on a regular basis. But
Yeah.
that team, the Asian game, my goodness gracious
Mm.
me, I mean, it takes something really from these players, you know.
Yeah.
So they should be respected, you know.
Ho-
Poor fellas. We just did a little tribute to the team of '66, yeah,
Mm.
and it was organized by football fans.
Mm.
Believe it or not,
Football
it was
fans. Right.
our football fans. We're talking about Jita Singh. We're talking about Tiaga Raju, the author of there's a book on football, and all these they put in their own money to get hold of flags to give them plus a meal, you know.
Oh.
And we did a little tribute to all of them. We talk about the players and the way they are, and you know their attributes and what have you, and all that. So,
Yeah.
uh, but there were several of them who passed away, who
Right.
are not
Right.
with us, you know. But uh, they invited their family and friends and wives, you know, and
Mm.
we're talking about sons and daughters and all that, you know. So at least the children will feel very proud.
Oh, is there anyone from that team that I can interview, you think?
Let me see now. Jita would be a good bet.
Mm.
Jita Singh, who was coach at one time.
Right. I mean, it would be great. I mean, I think you're right. We should acknowledge the teams, the players,
Yeah,
who
right.
haven't received that acknowledgement, isn't it?
Yeah, So at least, it was
Yeah.
all worth it,
Yeah.
I gave my heart, my soul, blood, sweat, and tears to my country, and at least it's recognized. Unlike there are like if we didn't hold that tribute afternoon, I mean, people will not ever remember
Mm.
the team from '66.
Yeah. Was this covered in the papers?
No,
No.
unfortunately. Yeah, pity.
Okay.
Yeah. But at least the president of the FAS was there. He was invited. He came along.
Mm.
Mr. Bernard Tan. He came, and also the general secretary of FAS as well. They all attended. They came by.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a not too pleasant question, but I think it's a serious question and needs to be asked, right?
Mm.
The question of corruption, which has always dogged Singapore soccer,
That was
right?
what I was trying to avoid just now. When we were talking about it,
Yeah.
and I said something unpleasant happened.
Hmm.
I hope you're not going to
Okay.
bring that up.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
But I mean,
Let's see if it.
do you think it's a chronic issue in Singapore's football?
Yes,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
More so in the past.
Right.
Because you must understand, there are players who really can't make ends meet.
Hmm.
So the only time that they have a chance to make money out of the game is through this. So you can't take anything away from them unless you pay them much, much more than what they were earning.
Right. So
I
it's
mean,
not.
quite a
It,
number
yeah.
of them were working as office boys in banks and places like that. So how much do you think they are making?
Yeah. So it's not because of greed, lah.
No, no.
Mm.
It's,
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
it's a question of need. You
Mm.
know, I need some funds.
Mm.
I need something to get together and all that. So I just can't help it.
Okay. Final question, Brian. What do you
Yep.
think is Singapore's football heritage?
Mm.
Hmm.
Oh boy,
Hmm.
this needs some thought. What do you think of Singapore's football heritage?
Is your wife also very close to football?
Yes.
Hmm.
When we were uh, going out, and I was trying to romance her. I was playing, and she used to be with me at all the matches at Jalan Besar Stadium.
Hmm.
She remembers, and she remembers a lot of my friends who especially now that we haven't seen them for years. When we meet up and all that, and she remembers them. And the best part is they remember her.
Hmm.
Perhaps they have some thought about her. And yeah.
So I mean, if we often talk about heritage in terms of physical things, right? Is there anything
Mm.
physical we can conserve, or is it's too late to conserve? Like the National Stadium is gone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It is. It is. Uh, they've got a brand new stadium to replace the old
Yeah.
stadium,
Yeah.
and but it's not as packed as it used to be when it was 50,000, 75,000
Mm.
seater. If you remember those days,
Yeah.
maximum seating capacity is 50,000. But most times it was 70, 75,000 people in the stadium. It was tremendous, those days. And we used to get people. There is a friend of mine who's a managing director. But when he's in the football stadium, you know, at halftime and all that, when the officials are walking under the tunnel, right, to go to their dressing room, uh, he's during the weekdays, he's very well dressed, necktie and all that. Yeah.
Mm.
But when there's a game that he's attending, when he's there, he'll be shouting, "Referee, Kayu," and he'll be shouting and screaming. And even his wife, when the wife looks at him, also she pretends that she doesn't know him. It brings out the devil in you.
Yeah. Do we have a football museum in Singapore?
Not that I know of.
No, huh?
Yeah, yeah, pity.
Yeah.
There is a sports museum, in this in the stadium.
All right.
Yeah, in the Singapore. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, the Singapore sports stadium. It's quite big. They have a stadium. They have rooms for sports
Uh,
venues
uh,
and especially stadiums. Like they have um, trophies that are displayed, and you will see uh, some paraphernalia and things that have been won by our athletes and all that on display at the stadium. At least I've been there. I've seen it. Yeah.
what do you think about the club? We have not talked about the clubs, right? But some of the clubs that
Mm.
we have are pretty old. They
Yeah,
go
yeah,
back to
yeah,
the colonial days, the armed forces, the police.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Should the heritage also include these clubs
Mm.
as well?
But are you talking about the British club?
No, the current clubs that we have, but we can trace their history, to the
Yeah,
colonial
yeah,
period
yeah.
as well.
Sure,
Mm,
sure. But if you're talking about, like, for example, the RAF Seletar,
mm,
Royal Navy Wanderers, the RAF, and what have you,
mm, mm.
I mean, that's part of the British
Right. Yeah.
uh, those days. They've all
Yeah.
gone home. They've gone off
Correct.
already.
Correct.
No point of trying to revive that.
Yes.
We
Yes.
should be looking at trying to improve something,
Mm.
you know. So
I mean, what's our oldest club? Is it Geylang? Is that the oldest club? No,
no, no, no. Geylang is quite new
quite new.
compared. Police would be one of the
Police,
oldest
right?
clubs.
Mm.
Then next would be the Singapore Armed Forces,
Yeah.
SAF. Yeah. Then where the civilian clubs are concerned,
Yeah.
you would have, like, for example, Fatul Karut, a Malay football club
Uh,
with history. All right. Uh, Unfortunately, they lost to Police. Police was the first winners of the President's Cup tournament. They beat Fatul Karut 3-2 in the final.
mm.
I know that because I played in that final. That was the very first one. Then the next club that I would take my hat off to is Darul Afia. It's a Malay club. And the players are all outstanding players. People like Majid, Ali Asta, Ibrahim Awang, and all these players. They were all playing for Darul Afia.
Right. So,
Very good club.
so these clubs
Yeah.
are no longer around, are they?
No more.
Okay.
No Fatul Karib, no Darul Afia. And there were like Peru Indians, uh, Joyful Indians, some of these, and also Kampong Kapo and all that. They were playing in the lower division, but
Mm.
outstanding crowds. Very good football clubs.
All right.
Mm.
Any thoughts about the football teams, right? When the MNCs came to Singapore, some of them had football teams, right? The
Mm.
Western companies, they had the Germans had their Rolai had his team and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
ever talk to these teams or talk to their players?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did as a player,
Yeah,
not as an official,
right.
as a player, and teams like Rolai,
Mm,
and there was also uh, some clubs. Let me see now. I can't remember the name of these clubs.
mm,
Carlson. Carlson used to play. Oh, Jepson and Jessen. Name rings a bell.
right.
Good side. They had a few Singapore players playing for them,
Ah,
including Raja Gopal and a few of these players. Yeah,
right, right.
and they did very well. and they took part in the Business Houses Football League. Those days, we used to have the Business Houses Football League, and then and it's Division 1, 2, and 3, yeah. And then we had the Government Services Football Tournament, and
I keep saying last question, but this is the absolute last question, which is the future of Singapore football.
oh boy, yeah, you're gonna get me into trouble.
Are you hopeful?
I am. But I don't know, man. I'm not encouraged by the attendance at the stadium,
Yeah.
for all these matches. And they're supposed to be the big tournaments, the big leagues.
Yeah.
So how to, turn the table and bring in the crowds?
You're talking about the S League or the national matches?
The S League.
S
The
League,
S
right?
League.
I have never been to a S League match, you know.
But now, there's, well, if you have missed it, you have missed nothing at all.
It's also a money problem, isn't it? I mean, getting the players, paying them, making sure they have a livelihood.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they've got a very handsome package when it comes to money and all that. So they're well paid, well paid compared to the old days when everything is all for the love of the game. That's all.
And parents don't really want their kids to play football, isn't it?
Yeah. That's another thing, I'm sure the parents are going to say, no, you can go and play football, but don't be too serious about the game. Just go but don't take up the game too seriously. All right?
Right. Let's hope for the best for the football.
Yeah. I don't know what can make this change around. Unless, of course, if we get back into the Malaysia Cup, but I don't.
That's not going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
I mean, nowadays the excitement is when some of the British teams, some of the European teams come here and play, where we get more excited about that.
Yeah. Correct. But those days, when these British teams were involved, it was really very well thought. You get the RAF Seletar, RAF Tengah, RAF Changi. Then there's Royal Navy Wanderers.
Did you ever play against them?
Yes, all the time. In fact, one of my injuries was because of my clash with a player from Royal Navy Wanderers. And he's a big fella.
Yeah.
He's a big fella.
Yeah, most of them are bigger than our players, isn't
it?
Yes. Yeah.
But which is good, which is good for us.
Brian, it's been a great pleasure speaking to you, tapping on your memory. I love it. And I think our listeners will love it as well when the podcast comes out.
Yeah.
I have a proposal, can I do a follow-up on Queenstown?
Oh, Queenstown, huh? Okay. But I don't think it will be so much as...
Did you live in Queenstown a long time?
Yeah, I lived in Queenstown. I met my wife in Queenstown. That was our happy hunting ground.
I know that one of the early people that my Queenstown now is my community. They interviewed you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Many years ago.
Yeah, Queenstown. Yeah. Good memories, man. I've got
good memories, huh?
Yeah, nothing but good memories.
Right. Yeah. I really want to do an episode on that. Yeah. So I'll arrange with you lah. Okay.
Will do. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
We'll catch up with you again. All right.
Okay, Kaseng.
Thanks, Brian. Bye-bye.
Thank you.